Alright, so now our character can sprint. Let's go ahead and start putting together the crouch. So make the player crouch. Let's go to our first person map. And just like we did with sprintings, we're going to we're going to go to settings, project settings, engine input, and we're going to create another action mapping. And we'll call this one crouch. And let's choose the C key. And let's also add another one. And let's use left control. Left control. So now the C key or left control will work. And then we'll get into our editor and add the action crouch. Action event, because it's an event. Crouch. Alright, now let's go ahead and use a little bit of this sprinting that we already created and use it for our crouch. So let's go ahead and copy the sets, hold shift and select, character movement, and max walk speed. So I'm just going to Control C to copy, and scoot over here, Control V to paste, and we are now in business. Alright, let's go ahead and make another float. So let's right click on our sprint speed, duplicate, and we'll go crouch speed. So what we want to do is make it so it's not immediately down or immediately up, right? We want to put like a little bit of a smooth transition from up to down. Compile it, and clearly 800 is too fast, so let's go 200. Alright, let's go ahead and drag this new crouch speed onto our event graph. And we're going to get and then we're going to connect the get into our set. The set is set at 200. Alright, now when we press our button, when we release our button, alright, let's check out our viewport, and we can see the cameras up here. And what we're going to do is add a timeline to make that crouch a smooth crouching motion. So let's go ahead and right click, and we're going to search up timeline. Not Time Leone, timeline. Add timeline. Okay. And we'll call this capital T for timeline underscore crouching. Okay. So we're going to connect our set to play and our other set to reverse. So when we press the key, it sets the timeline, and when we release it, it reverses the timeline. And now let's actually mess with the timeline. So just double click on this node. And here we have it. So the timeline is very similar to the timeline in Blender or also in Adobe Premiere. So let's go ahead and click on the track, and we'll add a float track. And let's call this crouch _ alpha. And then, just like we did in Blender and in Premiere, let's add a keyframe. So right click at 0, add key to curve float. And then let's go ahead and add another one. Okay, so click on the first one, and we're not exactly at 0, so let's go ahead and change that to 0.0 and the value of 0. And then the second one, let's go 0.5 and 1. So this is where it's going to start, this is where it's going to end, and let's make this a smooth curve. So what we have to do is select them both, shift click, and then right click and click user. So now you've got like a smooth transition. Alright, let's go ahead and compile this. And let's check out our event graph. And you see now we have a new output called crouch alpha. That's going to be used to update the player's position. So let's go ahead and grab our first person camera. And put it on the event graph. Now, let's pull this out, and we're going to set relative location. So we're going to set the location of the camera. Set relative location. And then we're going to connect our output update from the timeline into the set relative location. Alright, on our new location, we're going to drag out and add a lerp. So it's going to go from the first value to the second value. And then we're going to connect our crouch alpha output to our alpha input on the lerp. Alright, this is starting to get a little bit messy, so I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to get my first person camera details. And I see that my location is 64.248, etc. I'm going to copy this number, and I'm going to add it in the Z axis. Right? So that's the camera when they're standing up, and then I'm going to just cut it in half. Let's make it 30. So that's the location they're going to be when they are crouching. And then I'm just going to copy both of these numbers and add them to A and B. And that's mode 0. Alright, let's go ahead and compile and check it out. I'm going to press play it. And when I hit C, I crouch down. But I have only done this for the camera. I still need to do this for the capsule, so my collisions are correct. So let's go back to our event graph, and let's drag our capsule component onto our event graph. And then let's set the capsule half height. So set capsule half height. And then let's connect relative location. And then we're going to add a lerp for the half height, so we can do the two values. Lerp. Alright, so let's go ahead and add this crouch alpha information into our lerp, and then get the details on our capsule. Gotta be on capsule. And here is our capsule half height, 96. So let's go ahead and add 96 to the top of the lerp, the starting position. 96, and then we'll just cut that in half, or close, make it 50. Alright, so now we have our capsule crouch set. We don't need the camera anymore. So let's go ahead and remove first person camera, remove set relative location, keep capsule component, and then we want to go crouch alpha into our lerp from our capsule component. Get rid of this one. And then update. And let's compile and check. And it's all working. Looks good. And that's it for this lesson.